Welcome back to another episode of the Final Frontier podcast. With me today is Tesi of Stage 9 Studios. Hi, Ray.
Adam, how are you?
I'm not bad. Thank you for being with me today. And my co-host, Bill, I don't know what happened to him. He might join us a little bit later. I guess we'll see. So, Ray, how about we just dig right into this interview?
Absolutely.
All right. So you were at MegaCon, right?
I was at MegaCon.
How did that go?
Well, it went a whole lot better than I ever imagined that it might. It's interesting because I've always been on the visitor side, looking for things to go see. I've never been on the side of actually hosting a booth or an event. And honestly, I have one rule that I've always lived my life by, which is hope for the best but expect the worst. And I really didn't know what to expect. I was really worried about it. But from the moment the doors opened on Thursday afternoon till the time they closed on Sunday evening, we were just busy. And it was very, very pleasurable to be in that position.
How many people do you think came by to have their picture taken?
It's funny you ask because at the very end, and I was with a small group of people who were running everything with me, and I said, it would have been nice to have a counter to figure out how many people have been here. Mm-hmm. But I have to tell you, I did some fast math after it was done, and minimally, I'd say we had 1,000 people come through. I'd probably say maybe 1,500 people because we had single people coming through, and then twos and threes, and then sometimes we'd have like 8. Wow. So it was really kind of cool.
So it was a great success then.
Yes, I mean, I think so. Even the MegaCon, I guess you call him the owner, but the person who did the coordinating came by the booth and actually sat in the chair and brought a whole lot of people with him to take a picture of everybody in the booth. Wow. So I'm going to say that was probably calling it a success.
Were you surprised by the amount of people?
In that particular instance or overall?
Overall.
Overall, like I said, I didn't really know what to expect, and I was very surprised. I really thought we would be sitting there, and the interesting thing was we were probably the only Star Trek display at MegaCon. We were in a pool of Star Wars people, droids to the left of us, droids to the right of us. So it was kind of interesting that we ended up, I thought, drawing the traffic that we did. Mm-hmm. But I was pretty surprised when it was all said and done.
Wow, that's great. So what was the process like of getting a booth there?
It actually was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I wrote to the person at MegaCon. We had a couple of ideas. It was actually Vic and Yana who had suggested the bridge. One of the reasons I didn't want to go with the bridge was because I didn't want to use Vic's chair. But we managed to find an alternate supplier of a chair, a company or a group called Delta Fleet, who volunteered or allowed us to rent their chair for the weekend. And once I presented that to MegaCon, they were very much interested in having us do the display. If I were to go back even before that, which is kind of interesting, I guess, I originally approached MegaCon and a couple of others, SuperCon and DragonCon, here in the southeast. And I was looking for a booth just to promote the studio. I just wanted something where I could put cards out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they were very receptive to that. And the person who wrote me back said, "So what are you doing for photo ops?" And I remember sitting in my living room and saying to myself, photo ops. What a great idea. Mm-hmm. And that led to coming up with the idea for the bridge. And they said, great. And they said, how much room do you need? And I said about what the size was, and they gave us a 20 by 20 foot booth in a nice little part of the back of the auditorium, or the back of the area, right where all the guests were signing autographs. And the rest was history.
Wow. So was it the full bridge or partial set?
So we brought the helm, the captain's chair, mm-hmm. The island that they sit on, and I printed a 15-foot backdrop. It probably could have been a little bit wider, but I printed a 15-foot backdrop from a photo that Vic had actually put together about a year or so ago. So for all intents and purposes, it looked like you were on the bridge, standing in front of the helm.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. So did anyone say, hey, I want to go film at Stage 9?
A couple of people. I'm not going to tell you there were throngs of people, because we were actually announcing the fact that the studio was open. So nobody was really even prepared for us to be at the back of the theater or the area. Mm-hmm. What we did get, because we promoted that we're going to be doing an open house in October. And we're about 3.5 hours, or Orlando is about 3.5 hours from Kingsland, Georgia. It's pretty close. And we had a lot of people say that they were coming. They wanted to walk it. They wanted to see it. That in itself was very, very good.
Yeah. So do you have any plans to go to any other conventions?
So we just confirmed that we'll be at SuperCon, which is in Fort Lauderdale, towards the end of July. We've been invited to go to MegaCon Tampa, which is in, I want to say it's in August, I believe, or maybe September. So we're trying to figure that out. And we were trying to get into Dragon Con, but we were a little late, so I don't think that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But at least SuperCon and possibly MegaCon Tampa. After that, I think I'm just going to collapse.
So are you planning on bringing the same stuff that you did to MegaCon to those?
Yeah. Since it was so well received, I think we might as well ride that parade.
Yeah.
At least, in the other areas that we'll be exhibiting in.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to change anything or bring any additional sets or materials?
I thought about it, and the answer is probably I'm going to bring less, because not knowing what to expect, I did a lot of overkill. I brought some studio lighting and all kinds of other items with me. So the answer is probably I'm going to bring less, certainly the same amount that'll be on display. The thing that actually I brought with me, which I was surprised how people used it. But I had, if you recall, I had done a fan film, or a small fan film myself, Starship Republic. Mm-hmm. And I had costumes left over. And I brought those and just put them on a rack and thought it'd be kind of cool for people to see what costumes at a studio would look like. Mm-hmm. And within about 20 minutes, somebody said, can I put on a costume? And I had to take them to the tailor when we were done. But everybody wanted to get in costume, and everybody wanted to take a picture in at least the chair, if not the helm. So yeah, less items, but I think the items that really we ended up using.
Mm-hmm. So switching gears, Dreadnought Dominion recently released their short film Reality Check. Were you there while they filmed?
Well, I wanted to be. And actually, Gary Davis, who put that together, and I had been talking for a number of months, and he offered me a small background part to be in, which I was actually looking forward to. Unfortunately, I had a family issue that had come up that lasted a whole lot longer than I thought, and I actually wasn't able to get up there until the day after they filmed.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Were you there for when they filmed Silent Acknowledgement, or was that all at the same time?
That was actually all at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And I had read the stories, and I thought Gary and his group did a great job of figuring out, coming back to use the sets. They hadn't been there in quite a number of years. And it's always good when groups want to come back. And appreciate the opportunity to come back and finish something they started, So, but yeah, I was rather disappointed by not being able to be there. But in all honesty, I was, I guess, where I had to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully you can be there for any future productions. Are there any other productions lined up right now?
Yeah, actually there are. Well, Dreadnought's coming back in January. And I think they're going to finish the original story that they had started years ago. Don't be surprised if you see Starship Republic make an appearance probably in the fall, because we've been working on that story to bring it back. I've kind of gotten sidetracked by the studio, but a couple of the guys, Jim Van Doltren and Samuel Cockings, have been really retooling the story. We have another production coming in September. We have another one that wants to come in July or August. I'm really worried about the heat. Yet another one in February, and we actually have a wedding that'll be taking place on the bridge in February as well. So the word's starting to get out, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
Is there anything you can tell us specifically about these productions?
Well, I think probably people know about Dreadnought Dominion and Starship Republic. One of the things that I've set up, and I'm working with, if you recall, Starbase Studios, they rebranded themselves as Starbase Outpost, and they're actually working as a booking agent. So I'm working with those guys as well. But one of the things that I'm insisting on, and the reason I guess I can't really tell you too much is because I really don't know at this point, but I have said that prior to booking any time at the studio, we'll need to see a completed script, make sure that it meets all of the CBS guidelines, because there's one thing that I'm not doing, and that's violating any of those guidelines. Yeah. So, again, the fact that people are finding out, for the first time that there's, some possibility of shooting at the studio, I think people are really in the process of putting something together that we could really read.
So really quick, back to Starbase Outpost. So is that Vance and Kent Edwards, or Words?
That is Words and Vance.
Okay.
Right now, mostly Vance. But yeah, he's all in, and he's very excited to really help contribute.
So they're booking for you.
They're booking, correct. Okay. And in the meantime, they also want to film as well. So it's a double dip, I guess.
Can you tell us anything about their production?
I know Vance has got something going on, and he's actually started to publish it. And I know the ship is called Constar.
Oh, yes.
So you've probably seen that.
Yeah, I'm writing one of the episodes for that.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And Words has, he says, 3 stories that he's never quite completed that he wants to film there. And I don't know specifically, although we've talked in roundabout ideas about his plot. So I don't know too much at this point.
Okay. So let's see. I'm looking down my questions. What do I have left? See, this is so hard for me because Bill's not here. He always has these really great off the cuff questions, and I'm always by the book, and I've always got my pre-planned questions.
It's okay. I actually had a couple of things that if I could jump back to MegaCon for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
And that's something that occurred to me during, our booth experience. And the one thing I realized, Adam, is, I've been bouncing around Star Trek for 50 or 51 years. I hate to admit it, but I have. I'm glad you're not taking my picture. And, in that 50 years, aside from watching episodes and all of that, I've been to conventions. I've met some of the actors. I've met some of the actors in some of the oddest places, and been able to interact with them. I've seen the sets now, obviously with Stage 9, and Starbase Studio, not Starbase Studios. Yeah, Starbase Studios. Mm-hmm. And I've been up to Kingsland, and, I've seen the tour. And I realized as people were coming through that not everybody has had that opportunity. And some of the reactions that we got were totally unexpected and really kind of nice. And just to give you there's a couple of people that kind of stand out to me. One was a young lady. Everybody to me is young, by the way. It was a young lady that came by, and she walked into the booth, and she got in front of the helm, and she knelt down to, like, say a prayer or something. Hmm. I mean, it was like, she had gone to heaven. And, you don't know quite how to react to something like that. Families would come in. I had a young lady who brought her mother. Her mother was probably about my age, and brought her all the way down to the end of the aisle that we were in, having her face the other way. And when she turned around, the woman just put her hands up to her face. Her mouth fell open, and she started to cry. Mm. And I had to walk out. I gave her a hug, and I kind of walked her in front of the crowd. And you look at things like that, and you just kind of wonder, or you realize that, this is a bigger deal for some people than you ever imagined. Yeah. And the one that really stands out to me was there was, again, a young lady. She was with her mom, and she really wanted to sit on the bridge. She wanted to take pictures of herself. She always wanted pictures of herself on the bridge. And she put on one of the costumes. We had a female red tunic costume. Mm-hmm. She started to get undressed. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. And she goes, oh, no, I have clothes on under here. And her mom came, helped her get dressed and whatever. And when she had on a very long, I'll call it a dress, but it went down to the floor. And when the dress finally came off, and those tunics are really short, her leg, I looked, and her legs were all scarred. And either her knee or her ankle was in a brace. And I kind of looked at her mother, because it didn't really take me back, don't get me wrong, or aback or anything like that, but I was just rather surprised. And her mom told me that she had been I don't remember if she said she was a first responder or if she was actually deployed overseas at some point. And she was in an accident. And I sat her in the captain's chair, and she didn't want to sit in the captain's chair because she didn't want a picture of her legs. And I said, if you sit in the chair, I'll make sure that, things are kind of cool. And so she sat in the captain's chair, but she really wanted to sit at the helm, and we took a bunch of pictures at the helm. And at the end, what I would do with everybody is I'd show them like the last picture because I used their phone, and I'd show them the pictures that we took. And I showed her the last picture, and her and her mother started to cry. And you just forget that it's a much more meaningful thing to a lot of people than I don't want to say to myself, but I've kind of lived it for so long and I've been in it. And it was very wonderful to see. And people would hug me and people would shake my hand and people would thank me and people would say they're going to come see me. And it was great. I mean, something that I wanted to pass on because it was something that I really didn't anticipate or ever even expect to have happen at an event like this. So, that to me was like the highlight of my being there, and probably the reason I'd really like to get to other places and have people, see these sets.
Hopefully they have the same experiences.
I hope so.
It can be life-changing.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what's been the greatest challenge for you so far, just in general with Stage 9?
I'd probably say the launch. I started back and when I say the launch, I didn't want to I announced that, Vic and I had worked together and I now own the sets and all that. But beyond that, I had, up until May, I hadn't said anything about what we were going to do with the sets. And I think part of the reason was, if not the main reason, was that I wanted to make sure that I was going to do this in a way that would be respectful not only to Star Trek but to CBS and all of CBS's licenses, that Vic was on board with, how we were going to move this forward. And it really took about 5 months to make sure that I knew what my parameters were. So I think sitting with those sets and not being able to do anything with them, and then finally, getting to a point where I could, was probably the biggest challenge.
Just sitting on your hands, waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying rent.
Yeah. So, that's a good point. Losing money on just sitting there, not being able to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's been the greatest achievement so far?
I would say, I guess there's two or three things that fall into the greatest achievement. The first one is when, back in January, when I officially took over Star Trek Continues and it became Stage 9 Studios, the folks that had worked it, I'm talking about the people who were really very much local to Kingsland or Jacksonville, Florida, who had helped build it and had helped film in it and helped light it, they all wanted to stay a part of it. And that to me was like a big positive. A, they wanted to stay there. B, they wanted to stay with me, and appreciated the fact that, the studios were going to remain intact and we're going to stay in Kingsland and we were going to move forward with it. So the reaction that I've gotten and the support I've gotten has been great. And just to, if you don't mind, if I can mention a couple of names, there's
Go for it.
Royal Weaver, and there's Sam Rooks, and there's Scott Granger, there's Dan Scanlon, there's Brandon, and I don't know Brandon's name, but he's deployed right now in the Navy, and Jay Pennington, and all those guys, and my daughter has jumped in to help out, so Sam, Tesi, and all those people just rally whenever I need help, and we want to do something, so that has been a very big positive. The fact that groups now want to come in and either walk through it or film in it is another one. And that's, sort of where I need to take the studio. And, I've always said it's not a money-making opportunity, and it's not. I do need some help, keeping the lights on. There's no getting around that. So I just want people to be able to come and have fun and, see what's going on and just be a part of it. And that is starting to happen. And that's a very big positive to me.
Is there anything else on the horizon for Stage 9 that you want to talk about?
I don't know that there's anything on the horizon. There is an open house. Maybe that is on the horizon. We do have an open house that'll be happening. It'll either be in October or early November. I originally scheduled it for early October, but a couple of things have come up that might make us need to move that a little bit. Plus, it'll be cooler, which is one of the reasons that I want to be more in that timeline, and certainly, after Labor Day and before Thanksgiving. So that's kind of the time frame I'm looking at. We really, that's just going to be, come and see it. No charge to enter and walk around and take selfies and sit in the chairs and do your thing and really just come on and have fun. So I think that's a big thing that's on the horizon. And we're looking at, I'm about to, I think, launch a Patreon, account, just to try to get, some people who might want to, help contribute to keep the lights going. Small amounts of donation. I'm not looking for, crazy things and, some nice little rewards, I hope, for that. So things are starting to move forward, and that's all real good. We have this other company that's just about done with their construction on the other side of the building, and those are the egg roll people. Do you know about the egg roll people?
I think you've mentioned it to me before.
Yeah, they're going to manufacture and distribute egg rolls, so I figured at least we could eat while we're filming.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's almost done. So and there's a couple of pieces of sets that need not really repair, but because of the construction, we need to get some new access and things, and that's almost done. And we want to have that done by October as well. So it's all good, and so things are in fact moving forward, and I couldn't be happier about that right now. For a while, it looked like it was going nowhere, but I think I've passed that hurdle.
Things are starting to get going. That's good.
Yeah.
So this Patreon, what's the lowest tier donation?
$1.
$1. Okay, that's good.
$1.
Yeah.
It's like $1. It's like $2. I think there's either a 10 or a 15 if people want it. And then I went a little on the high side, and there's a limited number in there, like a $200 a month donation. But for $200 a month, for every month that you pay, you get free studio time.
Wow.
So just come in and do what you want, So I've tried to make it so that it's affordable for everybody, and again, it's I'm just sometimes I feel guilty about doing things like that, and I really do, but we definitely need a little bit of help to just keep things going.
Yep, and it gives people an easy way to support you. What's the is there a reward for the $1 tier?
Well, everybody is going to get some sort of a mention. Okay. So there'll be a contributor site on the website. The thing that I don't want to say wrestled with, but originally I said, well, everybody will be mentioned in a film credit. The problem is they're not my film. So I don't know if I could really tell somebody, hey, you have to do this, and have them be okay with it. But we will mention everyone, on the website, and we're actually going to have some live broadcasts, so people will be able to see the inside workings of the studio without necessarily having to be there, just so they could see what it's like. So we want to try to bring those things sort of to the forefront as well.
I was going to suggest that you do something like that. Maybe even you could do like like a live feed where you answer questions and you give updates and you talk about stuff. And that's also where you can mention people's names that have donated. Have you ever thought about doing like a monthly like update type of video?
I have. Interesting you say that. And this is all still new to me. So I'm just trying to get it all together. But yeah, I want to be able to, I don't want to just sit back and say, you know, pardon me for saying it this way, but, you know, give me your money, because that's not right. That's not what it's about. Yeah. I want to be able to do something for people. And I have looked at other filmmakers that are on Patreon and seen what they do, and I've tried to emulate them a bit. And yes, that is one of those things where you could have some interaction with people, some live Q&A and things like that. Even, you know, once a month, interview somebody who's a contributor. You know, pick somebody and have them actually interview. You know, what is Star Trek to them? You know, why did they do what they did? So we're looking at a couple of things like that. And I think hopefully those will be well received.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Do you know when you're going to launch the Patreon?
Well, it's actually live, but I haven't really launched it. I'm just still trying to get some opinions as to, you know, if anything needs to be changed. Okay. But it's actually live right now, and it's just, you know, at patreon.com/Stage9Studios.
Is it a monthly donation, or is it like every time you make a post?
It's a monthly donation.
Okay.
It's a monthly donation.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about for Stage 9?
You know, I think I've covered a lot. I know that sounds weird because I've spent a lot of time, you know, talking here, but you know, I'm happy that, you know, we're being as well received as we are. I appreciate people like yourself, Adam, and James, and, you know, Bill, if he ever shows up, you know, for helping us move this along. And there have been, you know, some other folks as well. And that's, you know, the support is a big thing for me. And you guys have done a really good job in helping support me, you know, for a number of years now, even before Stage 9. And, you know, I thank you guys for that.
Well, we're happy to help support you. We enjoy what you've been doing, and we look forward to more Stage 9 info in the future. Before we end, I wanted to get your opinion on the recent Star Trek news that's been happening the last couple days.
Is this the new? Some 5 new programs.
Yeah.
Those folks at Discovery Land.
Yeah. So all that stuff. So yeah, the first one was the 2 showrunners getting axed and Alex Kurtzman being elevated to showrunner. What do you think about that?
You know, I've learned over the years, this is the only way I can answer that I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I don't know why they did what they did. I have to believe that Discovery was obviously much more successful than CBS had expected or anticipated. I went from absolutely hating the show when I first saw it to absolutely loving it and waiting for season 2. But who knows if there are disagreements that go on, why they would have elevated Kurtzman to the role that he has now. But all those things are sort of behind closed doors, and until they tell us, you know, it's hard to even speculate as to why.
Yeah. And so you've heard about the new possible content that Kurtzman's going to produce.
Yes. I've read about it. Well, my thoughts are it's better than the Paramount approach to it in taking the directors that they're going to be taking. I kind of think it's cool. I'm gonna answer the question first, and then I'm going to double back to the Star Trek audience. I think that Star Trek has stagnated for a very long time. That's my opinion. I'm happy with where Discovery went, because even though it's not my Star Trek, it's really not my Star Trek. I think they tried to stay in the Star Trek universe. Whether or not it's in the JJ verse or, some alternate universe, hard to tell, but it's really stagnated. And it's interesting too that I had just read an article, maybe within a week before I read those announcements, that said that nobody's offering Patrick Stewart a job, and it's a crime. And now they're talking about, bringing him back as Picard. Which is interesting because that means it'll be a different timeline or a different, whatever. But certainly somebody's thinking about it. And I think that's a good thing, that somebody's thinking about it. Whether or not it's aimed at us old guys, so to speak, who grew up with all these different series, or whether it's aimed at a new audience, it's good that they're aiming it at somebody. And so I'm very happy with the direction that they want to go in. Again, I'm sure a lot of things have to happen to make it all fall in place. But the fact that they're even talking about it and coming forward with it at this point is a very positive thing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I think it will be really cool, especially if they do a Picard limited series or full-on series or something. I think that would be really cool to see. That's what I'm super excited for.
Yeah, be interesting to see if they're coming out. If they want to do 5 different storylines, it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. I actually am looking forward to Discovery season 2 with the introduction of the Enterprise and Pike, which means you're gonna have all your old characters back from the Cage, which is great, and you really wanted to see those people. So our Spock and his sister going to actually reunite at some point, and Sarek and Amanda going to be involved in that. So it asks a lot of questions that are kind of cool.
Do you think we'll actually see Spock? I think supposedly we're supposed to see a young, child Spock, but do you think we'll see the adult version?
I think, personally, if they've brought in the Enterprise and we know what time frame that represents, then I think they're gonna hold it back, and I think they're gonna show us Spock when they think the time is right. But do I think we're gonna see him? Yeah, I think we're gonna see him.
Do you think it will be like a CGI Leonard Nimoy, or do you think it will be someone new?
I think it'll be someone new. Just my feeling, because they've done everything new. I think they've actually introduced the actor who's going to play Pike, who looks a lot like Jeffrey Hunter, I think. But he's a real person. So I'm going to think that they're going to introduce a real person as Spock, or a new actor as Spock.
Well,
again, my opinion, I know nothing, so I'm just speculating.
I think it will be interesting to see what they do. I'm excited for it. Yeah,
I am too. And I was really disappointed at the end of season 1 for them to say it was going to be a year and a half before it came back. But that's the way of television these days.
Yeah. Yep. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, or shall we wrap it up?
No, I think I've said my piece.
All right.
But it's a lot of fun. I always look forward to talking to you guys.
Yeah, this is fun. So, Ray, thank you for being on the podcast again. I'm sorry Bill was not here to get to talk to you, to ask his questions. So that means we'll have to have you on again when we come back in the fall. So we'll see when we can get you back on.
I would appreciate that. And if it's just me and you again, Adam, that's fine with me.
I'm sure Bill will want to talk. To our viewers, this is the last episode until around September or so, because I have to go move in July, and I'm going to be a busy, busy boy. So you can catch the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And make sure you visit Stage 9 on the web, and you give it a like, and you check it out. So thank you, Ray.
Adam, I appreciate it, as always.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.